For the past 10 years of my life, I've been calling myself an atheist because I don't believe that there is any kind of mind or consciousness or any sort of person or guy who you could describe as God, any kind of mind that is in charge of the universe that can affect things that happen. I don't believe that when I pray there is anyone listening. For the atheists watching this video, that kind of statement might not need explaining, and I want to explain it anyway, just because this video is about what it means to be an atheist and what it means to believe in God. So to start off, I think it's important to emphasize exactly what I mean when I say that I'm an atheist. In the home that I live in with my family, we only really have 4 rooms in the whole house, and only 2 of those rooms are really occupied most of the time. So if I walk into the living room and I know that my husband is home, if he's not in there, I am pretty confident that he's in the kitchen, and he can hear me from the kitchen if I speak to him. So even if I haven't seen him walk in there, and I haven't seen him in there, and I can't hear him in there, I'm sure that he can hear me and that he is in there. So I'll often just start talking to him as if he were in the room with me. And there's a deduction there, right? I have deduced that my husband must be in the kitchen, and therefore I can start a conversation with him. But along with that deduction comes a feeling. There's a kind of certainty that he is there, and that I can talk to him and he will hear me. That is the feeling that I don't have with God, which led me to start calling myself an atheist. So no matter what I believe about ethics or Christianity or the Bible, it can't force me to feel that there is someone listening to me if I pray, or feel that there is someone watching me when I'm alone, the way that many Christians do. For a lot of people, and probably most atheists, that is the start and the end of the story of, do I believe in God? And the answer is no. But I think there is a difference between believing in someone and believing in something. And we use the word believe in both of these contexts in colloquial language. I'm not trying to twist the word believe into some kind of meaning that doesn't exist or that nobody uses. So, for example, I believe in the power of market forces. After reading about economics and seeing many debates on the subject, I now believe in market forces as a way to drive an increase in quality of products and services, or to drive down the price, or often both. I believe that market forces, which is to say the conscious decisions of all of the people in the market, lead to an improvement in the lives of everyone participating in the market, and also just an improvement in the world in general. So when I say I believe in market forces, I'm saying that I believe in the mechanism that allows the quality of items to increase, as well as the price to go down, and for the distribution of resources to become more efficient. But I also believe in it in the sense that I think that is a good thing, and I would like it to happen more. Adam Smith, the economist, famously said that the market forces that organize our economic behavior, it's as if it is controlled by an invisible hand. And so in this sense, we could use the invisible hand as a metaphor for market forces, or as a interchangeable phrase. So that if you asked me, do you believe in the invisible hand, I would have to say yes. But nobody who asked that question would think I literally believe there is an invisible hand, picking things up and forcing us to work in certain ways, because everybody understands that the invisible hand is a metaphor. In fact, Adam Smith was not even really using it as a metaphor. He was saying, because the market forces don't even act as in the way that a hand would act. If a person was trying to control the market, they would not act in the same way as as market forces actually do act. The mechanism is completely different. So what does it mean to believe in God in the same way that I believe in the invisible hand. Well, just like the invisible hand is in charge of organising the allocation of scarce resources that have alternative uses, the hand of God is capable of affecting a larger scope of the world according to moral principles. The power of God is not to control prices and exchanges the way that the invisible hand does, but to control good and evil and the consequences of good and evil. It's my belief that if you are virtuous, if you're a good person, which is to say if you are courageous and diligent and honest, your life will get better and the world will get better because of your virtue. And I don't mean that like most of the time, I mean all of the time that is the case, because that is how the world is organised almost. I believe that doing the right thing does good in the world always. And so you don't need to concern yourself with whether your actions are pragmatic or whether they are convenient for you. You need only occupy yourself with whether you are being virtuous and what is the most virtuous thing to do in any given moment. Rather than using the word God, a lot of people might use the word karma or refer to some kind of universal justice to describe this, but I actually believe that religious language describes what I'm talking about very well. Ultimately, any language that we use that has any kind of religious connotation is going to have a lot of baggage associated with it, so it's kind of a little bit pointless to argue about which words are better than others. I'm sorry if you don't agree with the words that I'm using to describe this. From my experience, it's actually atheists who I talk to who get kind of annoyed that I'm using the word God to describe this sort of thing. When I talk to religious people who really do believe in God in every sense of the word believe, they get what I'm talking about. They're much less dogmatic, almost, about what the word God means than people who don't even believe in God. The Bible is full of stories about people who love God and who worship God, and they trust God, and God intervenes in their life to protect them and to reward them for their service to Him. In fact, I'd say that's probably one of the most common motifs in the Bible, is that kind of story structure. And to people who aren't Christians and to atheists, looks quite plainly like propaganda. It just looks like kind of bribery, saying, look, our religion is so amazing. If you are a really good Christian or a really good Jew, you can be rewarded by God and He will protect you. It sounds like a kind of a quid pro quo, right? Like, oh, you just have to do these things, just join us and your life will get better. But to me, these stories are so much more than that. When someone is described as loving God or worshipping God or praying or to believe in God, all I have to do is to substitute those phrases for being a virtuous person, for being introspective, and to be committed to doing the right thing at all times. Someone who trusts, like I do, that doing the right thing will always have good consequences. Probably my favourite example of this is Daniel. In the Bible, there's this guy called Daniel, and he really loves God and he loves to worship God, and he's also a kind of really important guy to the royal family. And the king is a guy called Darius, who likes Daniel. He's he has promoted Daniel to be a kind of important person, but Darius, the king, gets tricked into basically making it illegal to worship God the way that Daniel loves to. Darius's advisors or friends or whatever tell him that he should make it only permissible to worship him, Darius, for a month, and that anybody who worships any other god should be thrown to lions. So for 1 month, Daniel is forbidden to worship his own god, and he must only worship Darius. But because Daniel loves to worship God, he prays anyway, even though he knows that he's going to get thrown to lions if he gets caught. And he does get caught, and he does get thrown into the lion's den. But when he's in there amongst the lions, God sends some angels to close the lions' mouths. Obviously, everyone's amazed and they think, Daniel's God is the best because he saved him from lions. God saved Daniel, and they're all very impressed with that and with Daniel. But anyway, I really like that story because Daniel is kind of a free speech warrior, right? He's forbidden to say what he really thinks and to worship God in his own way, which is to say that he's forbidden to live his life in the way that he wants, to say the things that he wants to say, but he does it anyway. Daniel is a hero because he knew that he would be safe. He knew that it was better to be the best person he could be, despite the consequences. And in fact, he trusted that the consequences would be good, or that they would be, not that bad, at least. And in my opinion, that is what it really means to believe in God. It's to believe that the consequences of your actions will be good if you are doing the right thing. And what is so inspiring about Daniel is that he faces death and he's still not afraid. In real life, so many people are afraid to do and say what they think is right, and they're not even being threatened with death. They're being threatened with losing their jobs, or maybe even going to prison. And those are really awful things to happen if you fear for your family, especially. It can be really frightening, and I understand that, but you're not going to be fed to lions. And when I think about that story of Daniel, it puts my own concerns into perspective. And if the time comes that I need to stand up for what's right and to risk getting fired or risk going to prison, I hope that I will be brave enough to do it. And I don't think it's really possible to survive being thrown to lions just because you're a good person. And I don't think God will save me from prison or from getting fired, although that's definitely possible. It's possible that my courage will inspire others to stand up for me. I think miracles like that can happen, but that's not what I'm counting on. What I'm counting on is that being a good person will make my life better regardless of what actually happens to me. If I'm living on the street or if I'm, in prison, it's still better to be in prison or on the street as a good person than to be, sitting in my job as a coward and a liar. And that's what it means to me to believe in God. I believe that human life is good, regardless of the suffering that people have to live through and the suffering that they make other people live through. These are not scientific statements I'm making, they are value statements. I'm saying it's kind of like an opinion, right? You can't, if I tell you that the truth is better than a lie, you can say that you disagree with me, but you can't say that I'm wrong because I'm stating a belief. I'm not stating a scientific fact. I think I'm making this video because I wish more atheists would understand the difference between a scientific statement and a religious statement and understand that those two things aren't in conflict with each other necessarily. But I'm also making this video because I'm still kind of lost religiously. I'd really like to go to a church service every Sunday and talk to other people about religious matters, or just to hear people talk about Christianity or religion, but I haven't found the right place to do that. All of the churches that I've been to just kind of feel a bit weak almost. I like to see other people and to sing songs with them. There's something really nice about singing in unison with other people. The actual core content of the church services doesn't hit home for me, and so I'm trying to read the Bible in my own time as a replacement for that. But I'm hoping that the religious people watching this, or maybe even the atheists who are kind of spiritually minded, I kind of hate that word actually, but I'm hoping that some people in the comments will be able to suggest ways for me to explore this religious side of myself in possibly not the sort of the Church of England way I've been doing it. Catholicism seems to be making a little bit of a comeback, so maybe I should try Catholic Church. But please give me your suggestions in the comment section, or just, as always, leave whatever comments you want, whatever you thought when you were watching this video. I'd love to hear what you think. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see you again soon.
With just your name, and would I be sure that this is love beyond compare? Would all this be true if I didn't care for you?